Republican congressman is working to recapture the energy produced by the Republican Revolution and take over in 1994. Now, he has talked to all the major players that made that comeback happen, and he's working to adapt their strategy to the present. Now, at this point, even Newsweek magazine has branded him the new Newt Gingrich. He is California Congressman Kevin McCarthy, and he joins me now. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for being here. The new Newt Gingrich, is that you?
No, I don't even think I get my wife to believe that. There'll never be another Newt Gingrich. But I will tell you, there's one thing that Newt accomplished that we would like to repeat, and that's to get the American public to take another look at Republicans and our ideas.
Well, I can't agree with you. I got a book coming out in 11 days. It's called Conservative Victory, Defeating Obama's Radical Agenda. Part one is about how bad the president is and why we need to defeat him. Part two is about what has worked historically. And I go into great detail about the contract with America, even printing it. And I go into great detail about the Reagan Revolution. And I also talk about how Republicans lost their way. Do you think the Republican Party lost their way on some principles?
Oh, I believe they did. And I believe part of last year was showing the American public that we're earning it back, especially when they start with the stimulus bill, where every single Republican said no, that we had a better idea, that we focused on small business, not this government takeover. And that's part of the project that's going to be unprecedented, how we engage the American public on moving forward.
Well, the reason I wanted to look at the past and what's worked with Reagan is because I believe it can work again. And then I list the conservative principles. I list items for victory. I suggest we need a new contract, but I didn't spell it out. You say we need what you call a commitment to America. In other words, a contract with America where people put their name on a piece of paper and stand for principles. What are you looking at with that specifically?
Well, what I'm looking at is engaging the American public, using our principles to solve problems. Much like you talk about Ronald Reagan and you study the history, how did he become so great before he even ran for governor? He went across the country talking to people, engaging in dialogue, engaging in philosophy and debate. We are going to use every resource available, cutting-edge technology, engagement one-on-one, and we're going to lay out to the American public how we would change, bring accountability back to Washington, and bring America to change Washington.
When you went and you spoke with Newt Gingrich, who we interview often on this program, when you spoke with Dick Armey, as you now put together these commitments to America, you know, what advice did they give you? What did they say? Because I know that Newt, for example, was quoted as saying, you know, this is a different world that we live in today. What advice did they give you?
They said, look, it's different than in the past, but you have the ability to communicate with people different. You can use the internet, but you've got to engage the people. You've got to, you know your philosophy, you know your principles, but allow that while you listen to the people to find the solutions, just change it. Newt laid out even he gave me a 3-page memo in an hour after talking to him. He says, you know, go out and engage the American public between now and through August and lay out to the American public in very clear, concise ideas and solutions on where the future lies. Make sure there's 70% approval because you want to make sure you carry it out. Make sure they're not Washington-based. They come from across this country. You know, and that's what you're going to find and see.
I don't think this is complicated, especially as I was doing all the research here. You know, Reagan created 21 million new jobs. He ended the Cold War. Newt and the contract were enormously successful because they kept their promises. They passed 9 of the 10 items that they voted on. How about this? Republican Party rejects earmarks, becomes the party of fiscal responsibility, becomes the party of balanced budgets, strong national defense, the party that doesn't engage enemies abroad without preconditions like Ahmadinejad, energy independence. It doesn't seem complicated to me. Does it to you?
I don't think it's complicated at all. And you brought up earmarks. Look at what we did in Congress just last week. We came together and said, no more earmarks. We are going out to the American public, engaging them, and we're going to bring them together because one thing Washington needs is they're not the bright ideas here. They're out across this country, and you're going to see the principles to actually bring this country back.
The one thing is, if you get them to write put their signature on a piece of paper, that's great, because I think then we can hold them accountable. So I hope you're successful.
I told everyone, they all have to agree, and if we don't do it, you throw us out.
All right, Kevin, good to see you. Mr. Gingrich, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And let not your heart be troubled. When we come back, the great American panel is next.